Hey Canucks fans, welcome to the Line Change. Before we dive into our topic, I want to give a quick shout out and thank you to my sponsor, GasJack Art, maker of this amazing artwork you see behind me here. And you guys can check them out yourselves at gasjackart.com. Once again, that is gasjackart.com, all one word. You guys can also find him on Instagram at gasjackart. I have a link to his website in the description down below. He still has his buy two, get two free sale going on, so get it while you can. Now let's get into this video's topic. We're going to be talking about the Vancouver Canucks putting an end to the quote-unquote Braden Cootes experiment. We're also going to be talking about some updates when it comes to the lines from practice earlier today. We're going to be talking about that. I have some quotes from practice earlier today that we're going to be discussing. Obviously, this is the last practice at home for the Canucks before they go on their road trip. Their road trip, of course, starts Thursday in Dallas, where they take on the Dallas Stars. And then they'll be going to Chicago on Friday to play the Chicago Blackhawks. But let's go ahead and talk about the Vancouver Canucks ending the Braden Cootes experiment only 3 games into the season. Let's go ahead and bring up the tweet. As they, of course, Patrick Allvin announced today that forward Braden Cootes has been assigned to the Seattle Thunderbirds. That is, of course, his WHL team that he is actually the captain of. So to me, personally, this is a good thing. I don't think Canucks fans should look at this as, as a bad thing. I actually think it's a good thing that they are sending Cootes back down to the WHL already. I mean, I'll admit I was hoping that I could see him, play when I go to the game in a couple weeks. But, the fact that he's being sent down already, and it has nothing to do with his performance. I believe it was actually Adam Foote was quoted as saying says nothing to do with his play. They just think it's the right move for his development. And I completely 100% agree on that notion. Speaking of that, I believe I have a quote from Adam Foote himself, who even talked about Braden Cootes going back down to the WHL. He goes on to say, "I'm very proud of what he's done. It's not his play at all, just like I mentioned. He's a smart hockey player. We just think it's the right thing for his development." And I completely 100% agree. This is what's best for him. And I do think it would benefit him a lot if he just marinated in the WHL, went, focused on being the captain of the Seattle Thunderbirds. He got a small little sample size of what the NHL is like. Obviously, Cootes was absolutely fantastic during the preseason. We saw little flashes of him in that first game, or at least the first couple games. But obviously, he did not get a point in those 3 games that he played, which is completely fine. He is a 18-year-old rookie after all. But I do think this is a smart move by the Canucks, sending him back down to the WHL, and will definitely help him in the long run. Perhaps we could maybe see him later in the season. After all, the Canucks have a 9-game window. They have only used 3 of them, which is almost halfway through his 9 games. But as I just mentioned, perhaps we could very well see him once again called back up to the Vancouver Canucks later on in the season if need be. But I don't think it's needed personally. At least that's my personal opinion. I don't think they need to bring him back up for the rest of the season. This was a good small sample size for him just to get, his feet wet, so he's aware of the NHL. And maybe everything that he learned while he was up here, he can perhaps bring back down to the WHL, and he can help him for the Thunderbirds. So that is about Braden Cootes and him, being sent down. That, of course, being the big news of the day. Braden Cootes being sent back down to the WHL so he can marinate down there after a 3-game stint with the Vancouver Canucks. Now, moving on. Obviously, as I mentioned, the Canucks had a practice today. Obviously, they did not practice yesterday or Sunday due to Thanksgiving. So they had 2 days of rest. There was no practice. And today they finally had their first practice since the long weekend and just before they go on their road trip. And I wanted to bring up the lines that they used at practice today. This tweet is, of course, from Brendan Batchelor. He says the Tuesday Canucks practice lines were DeBrusk, EP40, Besser, Kane, Hedel, Garland, O'Connor, Cootes, Lekaramaki. Obviously, Cootes still practiced with the Canucks despite him having been sent down. Then you had Baines, Ratu, and Sherwood. Your defensive pairings were Hughes, Hronek, and then you had EP25 with Tyler Myers, and then Marcus Pettersson with Victor Mancini. Of course, Victor Mancini was called up. And you had your extras in Linus Karlsson, Teddy Bluger, and P.O. Joseph. Speaking of Teddy Bluger and P.O. Joseph, it was announced by Adam Foote at practice today that P.O. Joseph and Teddy Bluger will be on the road trip, this upcoming road trip. So that is obviously a positive thing. Going back to the lines, I believe it was Teddy Bluger was wearing a red jersey, which is a non-contact jersey. So perhaps by the time Thursday rolls around, we could very well see Teddy Bluger in the lineup, possibly. With the demotion of Braden Cootes, him being sent back down to the WHL, it was announced that Max Sasson has been called up. So he will most very likely be on the road trip as well. And perhaps he will very likely slot into Braden Cootes' spot there on the third line. So perhaps come Thursday, it could be O'Connor, Sasson, and Lekaramaki. Obviously, having Sasson and Lekaramaki on the same line will hopefully be good, as they obviously have some chemistry from their time with the Abbotsford Canucks. And hopefully we will see a little bit more of that on Thursday, if that is in fact where Sasson ends up. For all we know, Sasson could just be an extra, as we don't know if Teddy Bluger will for sure play on Thursday. We will probably find out probably tomorrow or maybe even Thursday morning. But there's that. I did also want to go over something that Foote mentioned about the lines going into Thursday. I thought it was quite interesting. And it was this. Talking about line combos, right now I'm leaning more towards going PD with Garley and maybe Kane. We'll see. And Hedel with Bass. And then you've got the speed with DeBrusk. So despite the Canucks having these lines for practice, Adam Foote is thinking perhaps of, shuffling it a little bit. And instead of, DeBrusk, EP40, Besser, perhaps go with Kane, EP40, and Garland. And then having DeBrusk, Hedel, and Besser as a second line. I like the idea of that, and I'm intrigued by it. Hopefully, they will give it a shot. Perhaps their next practice, or I'm not sure if they're going to have a full-blown practice while they're in Dallas, but if they do like a morning skate or whatnot, perhaps we could see Kane, EP40, and Garland as a first line, and hopefully there's some chemistry between the three of them for that. But speaking of Adam Foote, I wanted to go over something that Adam Foote said in regards to practice today. And this is what Adam Foote ended up saying. He would go on to say, we want to play fast hockey, doing the rush drills, closing out the end of practice. We did a lot of 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-2, closing plays. That is just one quote. I don't have the video, but you guys can find the video on Twitter of Adam Foote talking to the media following Tuesday's practice. But I did find that intriguing, him saying we want to play fast hockey, them doing rush drills. Obviously, a lot of Canucks fans are disappointed with the way this season has started, them being 1-2 and basically not playing that well over a 3-game span. I'm not one of those fans who have hit the panic button yet. As I keep saying, it's only 3 games into the season. I'm willing to give it a little bit of time, perhaps maybe at the 10 or 15 game mark. Then maybe if things are still like this, then maybe I'm willing to hit the panic button, but I'm not quite there yet. And that is just me personally. As obviously I've been a Canucks fan for a very long time. So I've seen the Canucks at their worst. I've seen them at their best. So I'm just not quite ready to hit the panic button just yet. And again, that's just me personally. But going back to these lines, it's interesting that Karlsson was still an extra. Obviously, he is on the roster. And of course, Karlsson is not waiver exempt. So if they were to send Karlsson down, he would have to clear through waivers. And obviously, and this is just me, I think Karlsson would not clear waivers. I think a team would snag him if the Canucks were to try and send him down. I also think too, he's kind of outgrown the AHL. So obviously having him as an extra is bonus, especially if the Canucks were to gain, heaven forbid, get another injury. I think Karlsson would take that spot. But I am intrigued by the call-up of Max Sasson, with Cootes being sent down. I'm intrigued to see where they will slot Max Sasson into the lineup. Perhaps, as I mentioned, he will take Cootes' spot. They're on the third line between O'Connor and Lekaramäki. As I mentioned, Sasson and Lekaramäki both have chemistry from their time in Abbotsford. Perhaps the Canucks are thinking the same thing, that might, have that line click a little bit. We shall see. Obviously, through the first 3 games, Kiefer Sherwood has obviously been absolutely amazing. He's got 3 goals in 3 games to start the season. And who knows, maybe they will have Sherwood be on that third line at some point, considering how well he has played within the first 3 games. Obviously, there's, wondering about Derek Forbort and, the fact that Mancini is on that third defensive pairing. Perhaps we'll see. I've heard some rumblings about possibly Forbort could be potentially injured. I've been hearing, he's injured. He's not injured. I'm not sure, but we shall see come Thursday when they face the Dallas Stars. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I just wanted to give you guys an update on, what's going on and whatnot and how things are going. But as I mentioned before, the big story is Braden Cootes has been sent down to the WHL back with the Seattle Thunderbirds. So as I mentioned at the top, the Braden Cootes experiment has ended for this season, at least for the time being. Again, there could potentially be a chance that he could get called up or called back up. Who knows? But as I said already before, this is not a bad thing for Braden Cootes. It actually helps his development, helps him marinate in the WHL more. And obviously, this is not the last time we will see Braden Cootes with the Vancouver Canucks. Obviously, we'll very likely see him again next year. But I thought it was a fairly decent, first 3 games for Braden Cootes. Unfortunately, he did not get on the score sheet through those 3 games, but I thought he looked impressive, especially that first game against the Calgary Flames. Let me know in the comment section down below, what did you guys think about Cootes' 3-game stint with the Vancouver Canucks? Are you excited for the future of the Canucks with Braden Cootes? I do think he is a future second-line center for the Vancouver Canucks. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think. And as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You can find and interact with us on social media. We're everywhere. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, as well as TikTok. They're all listed right there. And feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms, as it, of course, is greatly appreciated. If you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcast. On Spotify, once again, feel free to give us a follow, as well as rate and review us. It is greatly appreciated, and it really helps out the podcast. But that's going to do it for me in this video. As always, let's go Canucks, and I'll see you guys in the next video.